Hey, what's up, guys? It is Gene Fetty back with the Automotive Appearance Institute All Access podcast. So today, it's going to be a little bit of story time. I want to tell you guys my story of how my KECO came to be for me, how I got there, what that looked like, ultimately, I guess, how it ended, and how AAI was born out of KECO, out of my time at KECO. So sit back. I've got my drink of water here. I'm sure I'm going to need it. It's going to be a long story. So sit back, relax, enjoy, or put your head down, go to work, and start to, or let's take a little deep dive into how we got here today via KECO. And to be clear, it is KECO, not KECO, not KICO. It's KECO, just that simple. So I guess to get here, we need to rewind a little bit. And how did I end up even thinking about glue pull for collision or anything like that? Going back to my PDR Marketing Minute days, right? The Marketing Minute was made to help other technicians, other business owners, but ultimately at the end of the day, it also was a business, right? I wanted to maybe supplement income or create additional streams of income next to my paintless dent repair business, and that, right, the PDR Marketing Minute was my first step towards that. And, right, if it wasn't for the PDR Marketing Minute, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today podcasting on the All Access show. Well, what I learned trying to help other PDR business owners is the PDR business, the PDR industry on that side of things is really small, right? PDR is sort of a niche business anyways, but when you really dive into the business side of a niche business, you're getting super niche, and it was almost too small. Like the opportunity, I don't know that the massive opportunity was there. Looking for ways to create additional income streams, right, is what led us here today. Well, seeing just how small the business side of PDR was, I sort of put my radar out to look for other potential avenues for revenue. And I don't know, probably 2017, 18, somewhere around there. You'd have to go back and see. I was actually at a party at Louis, my right-hand technician's house, and his wife worked at a body shop. Some of the people from the body shop were at this party also, and we're talking, and we're friends, acquaintances over the years. And the one estimator manager was like, "Hey man, can you tell me a little bit about this glue pulling stuff? We're starting to see it coming on in the collision space, and we sort of want to get ahead of it. A good modern shop, right? Trying to keep up with the latest and greatest." And I'm like, man, yep, you know what? I know this guy, Jonathan. He's doing work with this company, KECO. And Jonathan had just put out a video. I think I showed this to like most of my body shops, but he had put out a video where I believe it was a horse like hip checked this van quarter panel and shoved it over pretty heavy. And with what likely would be some centipede tabs, Jonathan was able to go in and like essentially in one giant move, pull the whole quarter panel, the whole corner of this van back into place. Now, I don't know if it was a PDR repair or getting it ready for a body shop, but it was like one of the first real collision glue pull demonstrations videos that I had ever seen, and it was just mind blowing, right? Because back in the day, glue pulling was for small dents, not for huge dents, and KECO and Jonathan were beginning to blaze the way and start to do that. So anyways, I showed it to him, and he was like, "Oh, cool, thanks," and went back, and I'm sure talked to the boss, and they ended up buying some KECO equipment. Well, some months later, I happened to run into him again, and he's like, "Hey, thanks for the recommendation for the KECO stuff. We're actually going to send a couple of technicians out for some glue pull training and some push training, and they've got this thing called a hot box." And like I said earlier, I'd put my radar up to keep an eye out for opportunity, and I was like, wait a minute, body shops will send technicians out for training? I didn't know that was a thing. So I went back to him and I'm like, "Hey, dude, do you have a syllabus for what your guys are going to learn? Like, you're obviously investing some level of money, right? 2 technicians to Philadelphia, I think it was, other side of our state, and a 3 or 4 day training, right? So just travel and expenses alone, right? They're willing to make an investment." So he handed over the syllabus, and sure enough, they're talking some rudimentary glue pull, rudimentary push techniques, and hot boxing, right? I think it was BTAG, the creator or distributor of the hot box, that was actually putting this auto body training together, right? So it was all logical. But I really looked at the syllabus and I'm like, man, I could teach this. Like, I think I could teach this. I don't see why not. So now thinking back, that would have been in 2018. So I start reaching out to some friends in the business. I reached out to Keith Cosentino with Black Plague glue pulling. I reached out to Carl Stuckey with lighting. I reached out to Craig Dyer and Christina Seckinger about some glue pulling stuff. And I even, funny enough, right, I obviously was a fan of KECO, sent an email into KECO sort of saying, "Hey, I'd like to maybe look at becoming a distributor to be able to sell these tools." And the thought process was like, "Hey, I can teach all of these things. I don't need to teach PDR. I'm not trying to teach PDR to body techs, but I can teach these rudimentary skills to auto body techs. And man, maybe there's a market here." And my mind is still a little bit blown that body shops are investing in their not in their students, investing in their technicians, right? Just in hindsight, it's kind of dumb that I never thought of it, but at the time I was like, man. So I reached out and Carl was like, "Yep, we could do some wholesale for you." And Keith is like, "Hey, whatever you need, we can make it work." And Craig and Christina were like, "Of course." Like, just, in fact, Craig sent me a bunch of glue and he's like, "Here, try these out and see what you think." And then I got an email back from KECO. And I believe this was from Kenny Austin, who is now, I would consider, a good friend, but at the time didn't know me from Adam. And basically the email is, "Hey, we're not really interested. We only deal with bigger distributors. Sorry, bye." And I was like, well, man, that kind of sucks. Like, KECO's the stuff I want to sell. So I went back and talked to Craig, and I'm like, "Hey, is there a way that I can buy KECO through you?" And I hadn't even really heard of Cam Auto yet. And he was like, "Well, if we come to that, we'll work something out," and so on and so forth. Well, as we progressed through 2018, that was my first year owning a shop, and trying to get that off the ground. It just didn't progress quite as quickly as I had hoped it would. Well, fast forward to Mobile Tech Expo 2019. I went to the KECO booth and ended up talking to Jonathan a little bit. I think Jonathan was there that year. Anyways, talked to Jonathan a little bit about the collision stuff that we saw coming on. And then I believe the gentleman's name was Tim. He left right when I was coming into KECO. If it's not Tim, I'll make a note in the show notes of his actual name. Anyways, Tim was part of the team at KECO, helping on the growth side of things. And I knew it. I got an email that said no, but I'm like, I'm going to go talk in person, and maybe if they see a person, they can set something up. So I talked to Tim and sort of tell him what I want to do, and he's at least receptive, right? He's not a no. So we start an email conversation back and forth. Well, I want to say it was March of 19, Ryan Hampton, a friend of mine, has a Hail Expo in St. Louis. And he asked me to talk, and it's several other speakers. And I think there was 2 days of speakers at the expo or seminar, or whatever he called it. It was good. I was honored to get the chance to come up on stage. Go to St. Louis, and we're talking. Maybe I think we finished our talk, and ran into my buddy Dave Shalott, Big Dent Dave. If you don't know him, look him up. Pretty cool dude. If you ever get a chance to have a meal with him, just say yes. That dude is the food guru for sure. Man, can that guy eat? Anyways, through a mutual friend, Dave had heard sort of what I was working on, or what I was trying to do with glue pulling. And Dave was in with KECO right along the same lines, and they were beginning to teach and do what I wanted to do, right? So anyways, Dave was like, hey, man, listen, I heard kind of what you're up to. Chris White, the owner of KECO, is speaking this afternoon. You really need to make sure you're here to listen to that. Thanks, Big Dent Dave. Right, like huge pivotal moment in my life was being at that seminar and you saying to listen to Chris talk. So I made time to get back for Chris's talk. And now, mind you, I'd never formally met Chris yet, right? Sort of knew who he was, had never been fully introduced. Chris gets up on stage, and he's a passionate guy. Still I love the passion that Chris speaks with when he comes out and talks. So he is introducing a program called the KECO Corps, right? CORPS, the Corps, like the Army Corps of Engineers. He's trying to create the KECO Corps. And the premise of this is for local PDR techs that are already KECO customers to sort of talk to their local body shops, right? Almost like a pseudo guerrilla marketing attack. Pretty smart stuff. And it just clicked. So Chris goes through his whole program. Maybe it was a 45-minute talk and how he wants it to play, and here's percentages and how it's going to work out. And man, I literally was like glued to my seat listening to this, because I'm like, man, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Oh, this makes sense. Oh, I would change that. So on and so forth. So we get through that. We get through his talk, and I'm like, man, I liked what that dude had to say. I'd like to talk to him about it. I think I would make some changes, and why not? Later that night, so it's at a casino in St. Louis is where it was hosted. Me and Melissa and I think Jack Bucknell, just a good crew of people are hanging out in the back end or the deep end of this bar, just at a table, BSing. And I get up to go to use the restroom. And as I'm walking out, Chris White and Dave Shalott have a little table right at the very front of the bar, right at the edge where you almost walk back out onto the casino floor. And again, having not met Chris before, I walk up to Dave, and I'm like, hey, Dave, thanks for telling me to hang out for Chris's talk. How about an introduction? I've seen him around, never got to meet him. Dave makes that introduction, and we start talking. And mind you, it's late at night. We've all been drinking a little bit, and the conversation starts to flow. And I'm like, hey, I've actually been emailing back and forth with Tim. I've got a meeting set up with him in a couple of weeks. He's coming to Pittsburgh for an event. We're supposed to go to dinner and talk some. I really like what you're putting out here. Here's what I think is good. Here's what I think is bad. And Chris, being the gentleman that he is, sort of stood there and, for what it was worth, took my 2 cents. At some point, Melissa thought I got lost and came out to find me. And I really think that we sat talking at that bar till 2:00 in the morning. It was late. And the conversation was really, really good. But again, we were drinking, right? So go to sleep, get up, and the next day, second day of the seminar, there is a tool room, right, where some of the vendors, like KECO, were able to set up and do just some small tables. And I think the Anson vans were in the parking garage. Excuse me. But really, somewhere for people to come in and talk to the tool vendors. Well, Chris was there, and I wanted to come over, and I said, hey, Chris, great to meet you last night. Really enjoyed our conversation. I know there was a lot of good banter back and forth. I just wanted to come by and let you know that wasn't just drunk talking. Like, I'm very serious about this. And again, I have a meeting set up with Tim in a few weeks. I'd really like to talk to you about this. And really, I really think I like what KECO Core could be. Like, it really, like, the light bulbs are going off in my head. So we exchanged numbers, and Chris is like, hey, give me a call next week. Let's talk outside of the venue. Let's let our brains process a little bit more. And yeah, I'd really like to talk to you. So again, exchange numbers, and I go home and talking to Melissa and really thinking about it. And again, that radar I put up for opportunity, I'm like, wait a minute, these guys own the tools. They own the company, right? And come to find out, they're the manufacturer, like they're in the manufacturing and everything. Maybe there's some big opportunity here. And again, opportunity is what I was looking for. Like a piece of something, not necessarily a piece of ownership, but like a piece of some action. Immediately, with the thought of the potential scale with KECO Core, I instantly jumped to, like, I think I could head this thing up. I think I could help make the KECO Core happen and create almost like a general sales manager, a general core manager position, where, like, sort of my vision was to be able to oversee the program. And then, like, if you think about just a couple, 2 or 3 representatives in a state, so 100 or 150 people under me, even if there's a small commission that's possible under there, right? Like, you guys can kind of see how that could scale up. But that is, again, looking for opportunity. That's immediately where my thoughts went, where my brain went. I couldn't wait to get back and get Chris on the phone. So I think it was, right, I think the expo was like Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Flew home, and I can still picture the parking lot. I was in Masontown, PA. There's a little shop and save right on Route 21, and I pulled over in that parking lot that afternoon. I think maybe we had texted back and forth and set up a time, and hopped on the phone. And I don't remember the whole conversation back and forth, but at some point, Chris, at some point, I made it known that, hey, I know we just met, You'll probably think it's crazy, but I think I can come run the KECO core for you. Like I can see the potential there. I'm excited about it. I'm fired up. And given sort of what I've been working on and trying to put together, why try to reinvent the wheel when you're driving the wheels? Like, maybe it makes sense. Well, Chris throws out there that they are having a 10th anniversary for KECO tabs. Right inside of KECO is KECO tabs, and that's the first product they ever made. In Oklahoma City, like in April. And I was just like, I'm in. I'll be there. Tell me the dates. He said, listen, we're doing a 2-day training. If you can get there, you can come as my guest. And I'm like, well, jump in and swim, right? Just say yes and figure out the rest from there. So I hung up with Chris, like giddy, literally giddy with the thought of the potential that could be here. And I called Melissa and I said, hey, I got to book a flight. I'm going to Oklahoma City on whatever these dates. KECO's having a 2-day training. He invited me as his guest. It's their 10th anniversary. I can't miss it. And sure enough, got my ticket. And again, messaging back and forth with Chris. He's like, hey, I'll come down to the airport, pick you up. We'll go to dinner. Really threw out the red carpet. But at the end of the day, that's just the kind of guy Chris is. Like, just a good dude who wants to do things right. So he picks me up at the airport. We go have dinner. The hotel's right next door to the venue. And a great conversation. Got to meet Brock and Kenny with KECO. I think Jonathan was in for dinner. Dave Shalott. I think Dave showed up. Yeah, Dave was definitely there. Anyways, we go to dinner. We'll get up. We go to... Now, this was the first ever in-person training at the lodge, at the KECO Lodge, the home of KECO tabs. And we go in and we sit down in the room, and they're going through the slide deck. And I just sort of feel inclined to jump in and help. I don't know if that was right or right. In hindsight, probably not my place to just jump in, right? I wasn't really invited as a trainer. I was invited as an attendee. But I just jumped right in and started offering my 2 cents up in the presentation. As we moved through, right then, maybe late day 1, day 2, we start moving out into the shop. And I hadn't done tons of big, heavy pulls, but pretty proficient at small pulls for sure. And the groups broke up, and I just sort of jumped in and started teaching the small dent repair side of things. Understanding that was really the first time I was introduced to the process of glue pulling, right? The 6 C's. But again, just dove right in and jumped into it. Finished out the class. It was a blast. Got to hang out with Dave, got to hang out with Jonathan and Chris, make new friends. As we were wrapping up the class and getting ready for the 10th anniversary party, sort of pulled Dave Shalott aside because he had been out and done some on-site trainings for KECO. And I was like, hey, Dave, thanks for making this connection. I really love what I'm seeing. I just want to make sure I'm not going to step on your toes. I don't know what you're trying to do. And he's like, listen, you're good, man. Go for it. He's like, I'm here to help Chris because I really like Chris. And I enjoy teaching. He's like, but my PDR business is my focus. And I'm like, well, I'm all in. Like I really, really, really liked what I saw. Well, later that night at the anniversary party, I got to see Chris get up on stage and talk to his people, and I saw a guy with conviction, a guy with some heavy emotion. I'm a pretty emotional guy. I will wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes I'm just an emotional, sappy mess. And I watched Chris, right, the leader of this company, get up and give his talk and get a little teary eyed. And I could just feel the passion and the love in his voice. And it just helped cement that I was on the right path. Later that night, after the speech, right, sort of got Chris on the side, or me and Chris ended up talking a little bit, and he goes, "Man, a lot of people have talked about doing stuff with us and making moves and trying to make things happen," and he's like, "Only one of them showed up here today, and that's you." And that just sort of, right, that felt right. Again, it was just the way things are supposed to happen. It was just more reiteration of things happening the right way. So, party's over. Hung out with a lot of good PDR people. The whole Anson crew came up. Kev made his way over from the UK when it was still TDN. Good times. So we went. I came back home, and I think Chris sort of sat down and thought about what we had talked about, and I believe Jonathan was looking to be at home more, spend less time stateside, more time at home in Belgium. And again, the stars aligning, the universe doing what the universe does, and God putting you where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So he said, "Okay, let's talk about what we can do together. What does this look like?" And Kenny sort of entered the conversation, and they were like, "All right, let's talk about this KECO core. Let's see what it looks like." And we had some conversations, and they had me go build essentially a pitch deck on how on my vision for the KECO core. What did that look like? Right, like a pitch deck. It was actually pretty cool to build. I would love to go back and find in my archives somewhere my original pitch for that. Anyways, created the pitch. We hopped on a Zoom, and man, I pitched it as hard as I could. I threw everything I had at that presentation, at my pitch. And I think nobody's ever said this. My gut is, as I quickly scaled that up, or what that scale looked like, I think it got almost a little scary for everybody involved, and really at sort of a low level, right? Not even leaving the United States. And, they thanked me for my time, and came back and had another meeting, and they were like, "Hey, we're not so sure that the KECO core is the right play," right? It might be a little bit more than we can commit to, a little bit more than we can handle at the moment. But we really like what we see in you. Like, what can we do? What can we put together to make things happen? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess, what do you want? So we went back and forth, and they wanted some on the road trainings, some trainings at KECO, some trade show appointments or events, and some content. Right, we put that all together, came to some terms, and jumped full on into creating content and going out and teaching, redeveloping the slide decks. It was good times, like really, really good times, building that all up. We get to our next in-person event at KECO. So first in person, I'm an attendee and decide to jump in and help because that's just what I do. I guess that's just how I'm wired. To the second one, they're doing another event at the lodge. We are doing another event at the lodge. And it's me and Dave Shalott are jumping in to go teach this. And we get there, and I, again, just sort of jump right in. I can't remember if this is the event where Dave wasn't feeling well or just the first event I was there. But Dave, if you listen to this, buddy, hats off to letting me just jump in and take the reins and run with it. And I sort of jumped right in and started just leading the class. And Dave sort of hung out for support. It really was, again, pretty cool for the first time to get out and stretch my legs. Now, my one story that really sticks with me there is we were working on it was a red RAV4 lift gate. And this was like our first big moves out in the shop, right? We sort of start classroom and then we come out and we start big moves. We're early into big moves. And the dent is through the body line. If I remember right, it's like softball, cantaloupe size, but right through the body line. And I had always just stuck a smaller tab, thinner, more narrow tab right on the body line and pull, right? That's how I've done it. And it never really bit me in the ass. Still hasn't, technically. But anyways, we're there. And again, this is early in the KECO curriculum, right? There wasn't really a train the trainer. There was just like, hey, we're going to train this and go to town. So I'll never forget it. I'm up on stage on the floor with a student or two, and we're working through the 6 C's. And we decide, like, okay, we're strongest to weakest, deepest to shallowest. We're going to go after the body line. It's the strongest thing to go after. And, I'm telling the student, I'm like, all right, Bob, we're going to go after this body line. Which tab are you going to go with? And Chris goes, where are you going to put it from the back? And I'm like, we're going to pull the body line first. And he goes, which side? I'm like, neither side. We're going right at the body line. And he's like, are you sure you don't want a side? And I'm like, yep, pretty sure we're good. I'm just going to pull the line. And had I known Chris a little better, I could have read his face. Or had I been thinking a little bit, right? Clearly there's a problem with, quote unquote, just pulling on the line. And we make the pull. It's all good. We go through the rest of the day. And we're at dinner that night. Right, successful class. I mean, it really was a good class. And man, Chris is a little heated. And it was a good class, but it wasn't quite perfect. And one of the things that wasn't perfect was we don't pull on the body line, we pull next to the body line. And I'm like, well, nobody ever told me that, dude. And we actually got a little bit heated at dinner. And Dave Shalott got my back, and I sort of barked back a little bit, and it went away. But I was a little heated over that, as Chris was. Turns out, side note, don't pull on the body line, pull next to the body line. It actually does work better, right? I came back home, tested that theory out, and I'm like, maybe this Chris guy does know a little bit about glute pulling, or he studied a little bit about glute pulling. Let's try that. So anyways, we get done with that argument, and you could like feel the tension at the table. And Jennifer, Chris's wife, is at the table, and she looks over and she goes, listen, don't worry. She goes, all day long, all I heard about was this Gene. She's like, he's not that mad. You're doing great. Don't sweat it. And you could kind of see the wind come out of Chris's sail, like, man, don't tell him that we're good. It's just funny. And it's one of the only times that Chris and I ever didn't get along. And it's trivial, it's menial, it's nothing. It's just one of those stories that sticks with me. It was a good time. So that that worked well, and we went through. I can't remember if we did a 6 month or 8 month. It was, I want to say it was maybe 6 months. This initial trial period, and the goal was to, like, okay, KECO Core isn't going to be the answer, but we can work together. We can start building a relationship, and let's renegotiate or figure more stuff out 6 months or 8 months or whatever the term was, down the road. And we got to the end of that. I wasn't happy with my performance on a couple of things, and wanted to make it right with Chris. Actually flew out to Oklahoma City to sit down and meet with him and talk, and we hashed and worked things out, and decided to continue on forward. Right now we're moving or approaching MTE 2020, and that was cool. Getting to get up on stage and talk. One of my biggest crowds ever, right? Really heading down that path. I think we went to SEMA prior to that. Yeah, I did get to go to SEMA in 2019. Got, again, pretty cool times to get to travel to SEMA, to see SEMA, to work the show, to see how big the crowds are. Pretty incredible opportunities. The food, right? Speaking of SEMA in Vegas, I will say one of the coolest things was some of the incredible restaurants, the incredible food and food experiences that we had at KECO. When we were out as a crew, we did it right. Really, some incredible restaurants all over the country, incredible meals, incredible good times with friends. Man, those are reminiscing a little bit there. Sorry. Good times. Anyways, we come up to through SEMA. We killed it there. Again, forever grateful for the things that KECO introduced me to as part of myself. Man, do I love getting to be on stage, right? To do demos at shows like that with incredible, great products backed by great people, in front of people that want to learn and hear about it. It's not like we're trying to do a sham wow, right? It's bringing new, better tools and techniques to the world. Oh man, it's fun to be on stage like that. Up to MTE 2020, speaking there, working the booth. It was crazy. I prior to that, I'd only worked like the PDR Nation booth back in the day, just a little bit of helping. This was like full on crazy chaos. And again, getting to bring new cool products to market, to teach people how to use them, especially to get to teach PDR techs, right? That's where I'm born and bred. What an incredible time. Then, right, not long after MTE 2020, COVID stops the world, right? I need a skidding tires crash sound button on my soundboard here. Anyways, brings the world to a screeching halt, and we had renegotiated a bit, and I would have been able to do some traveling on my own and maybe go chase down some trade organizations, sort of like get in front of bigger organizations with the ability to sell and make some commissions. So we had started to make some steps towards, quote unquote, a piece of something. I don't mean a piece of ownership in KECO. I mean something bigger than just trading dollars for days, right? Instead of just a day trade, a trade of my time for KECO's money, something where I could scale it up, where I could do more. Starting to set these places up out on the road. And then again, COVID hits the freaking brakes. We drive the whole world into a wall and it stops. And we're stuck. And now I'm looking at laying off my PDR technicians. All of our travel for KECO stopped. Like the world stopped traveling. We're like, what are we going to do? Like everybody was in sort of a scramble mode. On the PDR side of things, knock on wood. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. Knock on wood, we had a big hailstorm. We ended up, laid people off on Wednesday or Thursday. It hailed on Saturday. And a week and a half later, I'm bringing subcontractors in because we can't keep up and we're going to have a record year. Well, inside of that, I'm still very vested in KECO and the opportunity that's there. We begin to try to do some online presentations, online classes, online demos. One of the things we did was every Friday, I believe it was every Friday at noon or 1 Eastern, I was hopping on and doing live demonstrations, live Q&As. Man, did we struggle. Like the rest of the world struggled, I guess. Some of the stuff like the ATEM Mini that we have now where we can do multicam and stream, or even the audio setup we have here to be able to do this podcast, all of that stuff disappeared in COVID because everybody was trying to do it. So we ended up streaming like from my iPhone and an iPad. We had dead time, like where the screens would go black, things would glitch out. It was a little ugly. But we stayed relevant and got it done. And that also is where I started seeing a need, right? This is called this like the inception of, it wasn't AAI at the time, right? But the inception of AAI, the Institute, seeing the need for better online content, better online training, better production quality, more interaction, so on and so forth. Right? Like that was, I think that those live events are what started to plant the seed for this. So the world starts to open back up just a little bit. Travel opens up just a little bit. And we start back on the road. And me and Chris are out somewhere. I couldn't tell you what trip we were on, but we were on a trip and talking about training. And I start talking about online because maybe COVID was a good thing because we were getting to the point with travel and the need to be on the road that it was showing just how difficult it is to scale in-person training events. Like when you're doing one-off, like one trainer at one shop, like that's just super hard to scale. So we start talking and I'm talking a bit about more online content, more online training. And I don't want to say Chris was opposed, but he sort of even further fertilized the seed that was planted in my head. And again, we're trying to figure out how to work together, how to make things work better, what makes this sustainable for me to continue being part of KECO. And he says, maybe you should start some sort of training, right? And we can sort of like branch out that way. As it was even talking about what now with KECO looks like GPR Plus, where they're starting to do some rudimentary pushing. I'm like, man, maybe we need to start doing some more advanced glute pulling. Maybe we need to start playing with some rudimentary pushing for these techs, and he didn't want to dilute the GPR for collision. Brand is the wrong word, but the look, right? He wasn't ready to dilute that, but through working next to each other, right, we could grow that way. And again, running a PDR business, working my tail off for KECO, right? That the seed was planted and we started moving that direction. And I never brought this up to Chris at the time. I think we've spoke about it since, or, back in the day, but come to find out that KECO is acquiring TDN, their tools and their training division, right? Kevin Andrews over there, the TDN tool line in the UK, and Kev is a PDR instructor. TDN did PDR training. I believe they still do PDR training as KECO UK over there. And in my mind, right, be it head trash or I should have talked to Chris or whatever, with KECO acquiring TDN, I was like, well, I guess Chris has shifted his thoughts on training, right? And now he's buying a company that trains PDR. I guess I'm going to put my training sort of on pause. And they acquire TDN, becomes KECO UK. Kev and the team over there really make some great changes to how we're training GPR with KECO, right? They cleaned up the presentation, cleaned up the process, dialed it in even further. And that's sort of like, again, I sort of sat back on my heels and just went along for the ride. As the world opened up more, I was able to do some of my own gigs, make some sales, make some okay dollars for what we were doing. But still couldn't come to like good terms on, again, quote unquote, a piece of something, right? We just couldn't figure out what that looked like. And this sort of turns into the ongoing conversations back and forth. What can we do? I don't know. What can we do? Made some changes to how I would bill, cut back on some of my training, did some more virtual trainings, a little less time on the road, reworked some of my commissionable sales, which was cool, but it still wasn't quite enough, right? And we were just, the world was getting back to normal. So we're probably into, call it like mid 22. We had gone on the road, worked a deal to get, to become a glue pull supplier for Caliber. We'd gone to some Caliber events. Danny Hacker had come on to KECO full time by this point. Like, things were growing, things were changing, shaking it up. And as we got into 22, I had a ton of training. I was doing a lot of training. Like, I think I ended up on the road. I was probably on the road 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month. Not for the full week, but I was hitting it hard. And flights had changed. You just couldn't fly around like you used to. And it started turning into some pretty long days, lots of flight cancellations, lots of late nights, early mornings. It was starting to become a pretty serious grind as we came into 22. Then June of 22, I was actually coming back from like a 3 or 4 day run. I want to say maybe in New England, coming back from KECO. And as I land in Pittsburgh, my phone starts blowing up that one of the towns we service got smoked with a hailstorm. I mean, smoked, ends up being our best year ever. But it was full on chaos. And I was scheduled to go. I know one of the events was a big iCar event at their new facility, and it broke my heart a little bit. But I had to call Chris and say, hey, listen, dude, we're so busy already. And this was like day 2 of the storm. I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it by the end of the month to this iCar event. And I'm sure that hurt Chris a bit. In fact, I know he was upset because we didn't really talk for a while. And then when we finally talked again over a beer, it was like things calmed down. And he ultimately he understood that, right? Like if I have to pick a business, mine or his, I'm going to pick mine. And that's what happened. Anyways, we get through the chaos, the craziness of the storm. And I don't know, probably August or September, we're sort of back on the road. I'm starting to do trainings again, and they're getting crazy. Again, multiple days on the road, being away from home, still dealing with the hailstorm, and some personal issues with our son. Right? Those teenage years can be a bit tricky. And me being away so much, and having Melissa, struggle to deal with him, and for him to not have, right, like dad there enough to make things right. It was time. In fact, me and Melissa, went out to dinner and we were talking, and she's like, hey, I think it's time to talk to Chris and maybe put the brakes on with KECO. And I was like, hey, you're 1,000% right. And like my last flight home, I spent a lot of time thinking about, man, this is just too much. And over the 3 years or 4 years at that point, I guess 3 years, over the 3.5 years that I was with KECO, KECO had changed a lot. Our local business had changed a lot. And family is always first in my world. Like family before all else. Like if family's not well, I'm not well, and we've got to fix that up. So, get sort of a last minute call that Danny is sick. He had been traveling a lot. I think he got the shingles because, Danny, if you're listening, you were overdoing it a little bit, dude. And there was a big Caliber. No, not Caliber. Caliber. Yeah, big Caliber event at like one of their big national events in Texas. And Chris is like, hey, dude, can you come and cover this? Danny's not well, and I really need you. And I'm like, yep, all in, dude. And I sort of had made the decision that, all right, I'm going to talk to Chris, and we've got to wind this down because, right, like it's affecting me, it's affecting my relationship with my wife, it's affecting our relationship with our son, and I can't focus on my PDR business. And we hadn't come to any terms, again, quote unquote, for a piece of something. And that's not like when I say that, I don't want that to be any kind of dig at anybody. We just never were able to put terms together that made sense for all parties involved. Like it just is. We were at that event, and went through the morning. We had a break. It may have even been the end of the day. And I was like, hey, dude, can we, like, just me and you sit down and have a talk? And Chris had been traveling a ton that year also. Again, it was crazy. I mean, it was a freaking grind to be out on the road and traveling like that. I'm like, listen, dude, you're tired. I'm tired. We still haven't come to terms. Sort of talked to him about what was going on with Mac. That's our son, and the stuff that he's struggling with there, and the stress that it's put on my relationship with Melissa. And like, I think I was like, I'm going to come to SEMA because SEMA is always a huge event. I promised to be there. And then I think I'm not going to take on any more trainings after that for a while, right? Unless there's something super close, something super specific that is just me. Like I need to take a serious break from KECO. And he was bummed. And I was bummed, right? Like sort of really felt like the end of an era. End of an era. And I think, in fact, I know they made some calls and brought on somebody else to come out to SEMA. We went out and had a great show with great meals. Like it really was a good send off. And then sort of parted ways friendly, like still get invited to go to dinners at MTE. If we're out, we'll still go catch a drink. But that was sort of like the end of full-time KECO Gene. Like it was just time to move on. I did a couple more trainings. I think they were busy. Certainly the post SEMA, he had asked if I would do any trainings that were close to home. And again, we're on good terms. And I said, absolutely. And we're talking stuff that I can like get up and drive to and teach and then drive back home to, right? Like short days, no flights. And I did a handful of those. We started, now we're sorting like end of KECO, beginning of AAI. I originally thought, okay, I'm going to take one more swing with KECO. And I'm going to create a great online version of GPR training, right? Like what would we train perfectly? And then, the idea was like, we can license this to KECO and we can make this happen. And my accountant was sort of like, hey, you started this LLC, AAI, and like, it's got to start turning some revenue or do something, right? So we ended up losing a little bit more money. But anyways, hired a videographer, set up the studio, and first attempt at creating a KECO online version went way south. The damage I created went totally sideways, all very not good at all. Rehire the videographer team, and we get together and we shoot. And I really wanted to create a as close to being there as possible version of online training, right? So lots of essentially over the shoulder, talking to the camera like it was a student. We shoot with the videographer, spend the money, they do all the edit, and the videographer had a new camera they were working with, and the footage was garbage. Like, I don't get motion sickness, and watching how poor the execution was on some of this close-up work, the over-the-shoulder POV work was unusable. Like, just throw it away, forget about it, we're done. Well, come into March of 23, we hired Dylan, who is not here today, not podcasting with me today. But if you catch the last episode, You will hear me banter back and forth with her a bit. Side note, we will be adding a second microphone in for those types of episodes where Dylan will be able to chime in. It should make things a bit more entertaining. Anyways, that's cool. So we bring Dylan on in March of 23. And one of my big goals was, at first I was done with that old videographer, right? Like he had done a lot of work for us. And then I totally got hosed on that deal. And bye, Felicia, you're out. But anyways, we hired Dylan. And again, as I'm sort of growing away from my time with KECO, right, and into AAI, and in fact, me and Jean Zan did our first advanced in-person training. I think it was February of 23. It was right before Dylan got hired. Anyways, that was like real deal kickoff with AAI on an event that was a success. One of the things we wanted to do was create the best online glue pull training available anywhere in the world was my goal. I think we accomplished it. Still super proud of it. Shameless plug. GPRmasterclass.com will get you to that ultimate best world's best glue pull training anywhere ever created ever. As I sort of got to move away from KECO and got to spend some more time thinking about things, it just started to make more sense. Even going back and following some of my old students and watching how they had progressed to creating training that was more real world with KECO, right? When you taught the KECO system, because that was your job. And I still, to this day, believe the KECO system, like the L2E, to be the most comprehensive start to finish system available anywhere, period. Now, I did see there's going to be an L2E premium dropping on Halloween. I've seen a couple teaser videos come out from KECO and Danny, so keep your eyes out for that. We will report on that also. But what I saw is my students that went with KECO naturally were opening up and expanding and trying different glues and trying different tabs, trying different tools. I wanted to be able to teach across the board. I wanted to be able to teach the way I wanted to teach. So, right, I already had all my KECO stuff. I reached out to Christina at Anson, Charlie with Cam Auto, Carl with Stucky Lighting or Stucky Tools, Mark with Perfect Pull, Keith Cosentino with Black Plague, John Vidine with Dent Reaper. And we brought all of my favorite glue pull tools, equipment, and supplies. We brought all of my favorites in to create, again, in my mind, the ultimate glue pull repair training course anywhere. And the idea was to be like brand agnostic, right? Instead of bleeding blue like I did for so many years and touting only KECO, I really got to open up and talk about everything, the good, bad, and the ugly, and why this might be better than that. And I think that moving to that brand agnostic position and more standing behind, call it the principles of glue pull repair, the principles of GPR, which, by the way, was born at KECO, right? That was the acronym that was put together to help combat like all GPR is PDR, and it's not the same, right? It's different. I believe that touting the benefits of all glue pull repair with the best products and tools out there is the best way to go. And it's also the real world with what our students actually do in the real world, right? They buy Cam Auto, then they get some KECO, then they grab some Anson and some Black Plague and some Dent Reaper, or they get KECO and then they order some different glue from Anson and so on and so forth. And I think that is ultimately what, I don't want to say put a knife in it because it's not, we're not dead, but took away any chance of Gene just going straight back to KECO, even though I feel as though I would be a good brand ambassador. Chris was just not cool with me representing other brands, and I can understand that, right? He has to protect his brand, and it needs to be the way that it needs to be for KECO. And again, at the end of the day, Chris, if you listen to this, I love you, brother, and I will forever be grateful for my time at KECO, the opportunities that KECO gave me, the fire and the passion that was locked up inside of me for training that I just didn't know was there, that KECO brought to my forefront. Man, forever grateful for everything, all of the memories, all the good times, the hard times, the tough parts of life that we went through. I forever will be grateful for KECO and Chris White and really the whole team over there and everybody involved. Man, what a freaking ride. Well, this is my new longest podcast to date. I knew this was going to be a chatty one. I think I about drank my whole water. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you guys. We get some great feedback on our last episode where I did a little bit of interactive talking about repairs. If you have a repair that you would like us to go through and critique, go over what and how we would do differently, send it to admin@autoappearanceinstitute.com or DM us on any of our social channels. If there's crazy repairs that maybe you didn't do, or just some wild social media stuff, I think we're going to do some episodes on that. In fact, I sent one to Dylan the other day that still has me scratching my head a little bit. Gorilla Glue, hot glue, suction cups, and duct tape, and ratchet straps. It was something to see. That video is definitely coming to the AAI All Access Podcast show. Again, like I said earlier with my shameless plug, if you would like the best, most thorough, most captivating, most interesting, bestest ever online training available anywhere for glue pull repair, all you need to do is go to gprmasterclass.com and you can sign up right there and have access to the entire class on glue pull repair training. Follow us at Auto Appearance Institute across the board on all social media channels that we post on. I guess maybe not all social media. Like there's a lot out there and there's already more than I do. You get the picture. And of course, our website is autoappearanceinstitute.com. You can find anything there. You can sign up for any of our classes. We've got tons of free options as well as paid options. So go check that out. I will see you. No, maybe. It might be a video episode next time. But I won't see you. You would see me. So you'll see me or hear me. You'll definitely hear me at least on the next episode. Guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate you so much. And I hope this was a little cool peek into how I got started with KECO and how that led us to right here, the All Access podcast from the Auto Appearance Institute. See you guys.